All right, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Jazzy Tuesday. Make yourself a cup of tea if you'd like. It's snowing where I am, and we're going to keep it nice and chill and cozy for today. So, while folks are arriving, I'm going to keep it chill as in chatting mostly and not so much dancing. I got injured last week. If you have been following along with 30 Days of Solo Jazz, and hey, you should check out 30 Days of Solo Jazz. We are on day 10, and that'll be going through the whole month of November. But last week, I guess it was like day 3 or 4 of 30 Days of Solo Jazz. I took a good tumble and ended up spraining my neck, which really sucked. And it's feeling a lot better. I have no more neck donut, which I'm pretty excited about. That's a good sign. And I can move my face again. Oh, yeah. So slowly mobility and mobility is returning, and hopefully that'll be all sorted out soon. But I'm still gonna keep it chill today. I really think that when recovering from an injury, dancing in front of an audience, no matter how low stakes, can, at least for me, push me to try things or simply complete movements that might feel a little off. So I'm just gonna sit and chat today about practice. So if you are tuning in for the first time to Jazzy Tuesday is a weekly half-hour-ish time that I turn on the camera while I practice, and then I try to vocalize my thought process and how I'm deciding what to do, and share how I practice and my process, and share some music with you too. So it's kind of a weekly reminder to make a little jazz. And this week I'm just gonna chat about how I practice and some of the ways that I like to do that. I sort of have noticed some broad patterns that I generally follow. But I also want to talk about why I practice. Why bother making these weekly reminders to make some jazz and to practice. Because I think it's important, obviously, or I wouldn't be recommending it. Hey, Gabby! Hey! Cool, thanks for joining, everybody. Hey, Rachel! Okay, I'm gonna stop waving at people and keep talking, but thanks for coming. So, why practice? I think that it's really important. That's why I do it. I used to be a lot more diligent about it. COVID has changed a lot of things, but I still do really try to practice because I think that it's important to keep growing. And my views on practice has really kind of changed and grown, I guess, since COVID times. And really the main thing that has changed is why I think practice is important. Of course, growing as a dancer is important, learning new skills. And I mean, how wonderful it is to go into practice on Monday and think like, okay, I'm gonna learn this move or this style or way of moving my body, way of expressing myself, and then a week or two later be able to say that what I couldn't do before is now in my arsenal. I've learned something new, I've improved, I've grown, and I can see it. And that's so important. And I think regular practice is the best way to do that, and I think that's really fulfilling as an artist. But I've also been thinking about, like, a few times I've shared how I like to approach practice, which is usually like with a list. I come with goals, I come with things that I want to focus on, and really I try to practice with a lot of focus. And before COVID, I think I pretty much didn't dance a song without a focus, or at least I tried not to. I thought that was a waste of time, and I've since changed my mind. But I really thought that if I'm gonna go to the studio, I'm gonna arrange a time to practice. I'm not gonna waste time by just goofing off. But goofing off is important, and I think since COVID has changed the way that we're able to make jazz, I think that has become not only important but imperative and a central thing that we need to allow practice to fulfill. So, really I think practice needs to be not just goal-oriented, but it needs to be, practice should be the time that you are fulfilling your needs as both an artist and a person, because practice should be the time to feed yourself. That's why we practice. We don't just practice to get better for other people, right? We're practicing to get better for us, for yourself as an artist. And I think the reason that we want to be better as an artist is so that we can better express ourselves and better participate and honor whatever art form that we're practicing. And for me, that's jazz. And that's why I want to practice and get better, but I also need to take care of myself, and a huge need for jazz. I mean, why we have social dances is this, experience with jazz and in making jazz that's euphoric and cathartic and beautiful. And without that experience, I think the motivation to practice becomes harder to find. And so I've really changed my view on what practice time should look like, and why it's valuable. I think it shouldn't just be goal-focused and focus-focused. I mean, and that's not to say that goofing off can't be focused, because you're focusing on the music, you're focusing on something, but less, I guess, goal-oriented, and goal-obsessed, perhaps. So I think the short version of that whole story is that practice is important because it gives you as an artist the opportunity to take care of your needs as an artist and a person, and it gives you time to fill your own soul. So I guess that is to say that one thing that I have adopted as a method of practice, and honoring it as such, as practice, as valued time that I'm spending as a dancer, is just dancing without a goal, and with the specific, for me at least, the specific boundary that I'm not going to analyze what I'm doing, that I'm going to let loose and allow that beautiful, cathartic, euphoric jazz feeling to happen, and just let go and dance. And I think for me that has been a really important addition to practice time. And if you've been tuning in to Jazzy Tuesdays for a while, you've probably seen this happen, where I come to practice and I, say like, I just need to dance. Today is just gonna be like a lot of goofing off, and maybe I'll analyze a little bit, but mostly I just need to make some jazz, and I just need to dance. And I think that the need to just dance is one that we should fulfill with practice time, and value it as such, as valuable practice time. So that said, I think some patterns that I've noticed with my own practice have been really useful in, I guess, sustaining that other side of growth, right? Because I think we need both. We need the experience of creating, and creating without scrutiny, especially self-scrutiny, but we also need growth, so that we feel like growth helps the participation in the art get better, and then as you get better, you're more inspired to keep growing. So I think that even as I'm thinking about these things as sort of separate, I think that maybe thinking of growing and practice time and analyzing time, and that kind of practice, and practice as in just participating in creating the art that you're practicing. I don't think those should maybe be as separate as I'm currently painting them to be, or thinking about them to be so separate. But I think that might be something else to think about. But I want to chat a little bit about these sort of concrete and fairly broad kind of processes by which I like to approach practice. I think the one that I show most often here is I just because I think it's the most entertaining and the most welcoming, is the dance reflect sort of pattern. And I think that one's pretty common. You know, you dance a little and then you think about what you did, and then you dance a little more and then you think about what you did. And for me, I usually have a pretty focused goal. I want to focus on doing things more than once, or I want to focus on extending my reach to my full extent. Yeah, you know, on like the lines that I'm making with my body, or I want to practice turns and incorporating those into my dancing, or phrasing, or, you know, anything. I could go on and on, but I often put a song on and think of like something that I want to focus on for that song, and then I dance, and then at the end I think, and I write some notes, and I think like, okay, what do I like, what do I want to take with me, and what do I want to leave. And I specifically, though, I think this is important to note, is when I am self-analyzing, I am pretty diligent about what I am allowing myself to focus on. And by focus, I mean, focusing doesn't mean a lack of acknowledgement on the other things, but what I focus on is what I want to take with me. And the things that I want to leave behind still need acknowledging. You know, if I like, I'm working on turns and I notice something that isn't working, that still needs acknowledgement. But the thing that I'm going to focus on and go into the next song thinking about is what I want to add, or the feeling that I want to chase. You know, it's the if you ever heard or played a game, I don't even know if could be a game, but if someone tells you don't think about a purple elephant, what do you think about? It's impossible to not think about a purple elephant, at least for a little while. And a negative focus, I think, is really unhelpful. Like, our brains aren't meant to focus on an absence of something. We're meant to focus on the presence of something, and we're really good at finding something to sort of latch onto. Our brains are pretty good at that. So if you give your brain a positive thing that you want it to continue, then like you tell it, think about a green flamingo. Well, you're thinking about a green flamingo, and you're also not thinking about a purple elephant anymore. So you've accomplished both goals. So I am a big believer in sort of self-regulating your focuses to acknowledge all of the useful information, and then specifically focus on what is helpful for you to move forward. So, and I do this with my students too. If I'm teaching, you know, I will say when things aren't working, but the solutions that I give are always do this, add this, focus on this, green flamingos. Think about green flamingos, which is just a little bit more helpful for our brains for growth. So there's that. The dance, analyze, dance, how did it go? Okay, I'm going to take this with me, a new song. And I'll even often kind of play a song on repeat, depending on what I'm working on, especially if it is like music related. Like, I want to really work on my phrasing, and I'll find a song, maybe a longer song, and just really work on playing off of the phrases in that song. And I think familiarity in the music can sometimes help that. And sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's fun to just, you know, pick an old Spotify playlist, hit play, and skip the songs you don't feel like dancing to. But anyway, so that's one method that I use quite a lot, and that you've probably seen almost every week here on Jazzy Tuesday. Another method that I find myself using quite often is like drill making. I don't really have a better title for it, but if I have something that I want to practice, I like, especially if it's a new skill, if it's, and it's usually for specific things. So I keep coming back to the idea of turning. So we'll use that as the example. If I want to learn a new turn, or even improve on a turn, I'll think about what I need, and then think about how to isolate that into a movement that becomes the drill, where it's impossible to sustain that drill without accomplishing the goal that I'm trying to, have throughout. So if perhaps I want to work on being able to do a lot of turns over and over again, and I want to work on changing where my focus is. Like, that spotting is not my forte, so that is something I'll probably need to practice when I can turn my face any way I want. And so to do that, I would think, like, well, what do I need to change my focus? I need to isolate the idea of turning a lot of times. So I might do some slow motion turns where I'm picking a new spot to turn or to focus on every so often or something. I don't know if that's the best example, but anyway, isolating what I need to accomplish a goal and then finding a movement that highlights it is usually the way that I will make a drill. And I find myself using these a lot with fast music because I really like dancing to fast music, but of course that is awfully physically demanding, and it can be really tiring. So I don't want to necessarily just play a song and then stop and then think and play a song, because that'll get kind of exhausting. So practicing some of the techniques that I need to dance to fast music, but either slowing them down or really isolating them, like just practicing really fast kicks. Yeah, sure, I can do that for like a whole song. But then I'm sort of taking away all the exhaustion of making decisions because I'm doing a really repetitive movement that lets my body get in the habit of doing that movement in the way that I'm practicing. And then I don't have to be thinking about what I want to do. Not that that's not a useful skill, but that's not what I'm practicing right now. And isolating the skills is, for me, the purpose of a drill. So I'm going to take a sip of tea. Oh, and I brought some tea biscuits. I think I might eat those later. But we've got a couple new folks tuning in. So if you are tuning in, welcome to Jazzy Tuesday. I'm injured, so I'm not dancing this week. We'll see about next week. I don't know yet. But I'm just chatting about methods of practice. So hopefully that'll be helpful for your own practice. And at the beginning, I chatted about why I think practice is important. So if you are interested in hearing that, I'll post this video after. So, hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, okay, so I think I had one more. I wrote down notes so that I wouldn't forget, but I've just been talking, so I'm gonna check out my notes. I had 3, and I can't remember what the last one is. Hello! Would you like to meet the largest cat that's ever existed? Look how giant he is. This is Walter. He's my parents' cat. And he's a monster. A fluffy monster. And he's joining now. Yeah, good. Make yourself at home, buddy. 1. Dance and reflect. 2. Drill making. I can't read my last one. Oh, yeah. That says something about my handwriting. And I think this isn't so different from drill making, but doing something. Walter, you have fans. Look. Somebody thinks you're sweet. That's nice. So anyway, the last thing, which is maybe pretty connected to drill making, but I really like doing steps, like one step for the whole song. And I guess that could almost feel like one entire drill on its own. But I think it's so helpful to work for myself on what I think counts as the step and sort of reestablish the boundaries for like what a tacchiani is and what a flying Charleston is, or all of those things, and working out when something is no longer a flying Charleston means trying every possibility that I can think of until I've done something that does not feel like a flying Charleston. It's missing too many pieces, and I've added too many other pieces that it doesn't count anymore, and now I really know what the boundaries of that step are. And also, by doing that, I know how I like to do this step, because we all learn by watching other people, whether it's your teacher or people on the dance floor, and I think that it's really helpful to do that and imitate. But I think another really important step is dancing these steps in a way that feels like you. I mean, there's that beautiful and famous clip of Don Hampton talking about feeling where the beat is. I'll try to link to that clip below as well. But she says this lovely thing about putting some of you into the dance or into the jazz. I'm not quoting her directly, and she says not this you but this you. And I think that for me this has been a really helpful step in doing that, because finding the way that I move doesn't necessarily happen by imitation. I think it happens by taking what you're imitating and doing it over and over and over, and stretching it and pulling it and crumpling it up and throwing it around a little bit and making it turn and doing some weird stuff with it to see what feels good for your body, because that's what jazz should be. It should be you, right? So I think to put you and your personality into the step, without that, it's not jazz, it's someone else's jazz. And for me, that repetition of doing a step for an entire song has been really important. And I think it's something that I keep coming back to, because I keep growing as a dancer, and every time I do that drill, it helps me and it stretches my idea of the step, and it I discover new things about how the current Jazzy Bailey makes some jazz. So anyway, so those are, I'm kind of rambling on for a little while about all this, but those are 3 ways that I like to approach practice, and I hope those are helpful. We'll see what next week holds, but hopefully I'll do a little bit of dancing next week. But I do want to just reiterate how important I think it is to balance this like focused, goal-centric practice that is important. How important it is to balance that with practice that feeds your soul. Yeah? Because if your soul's empty, you don't have a reason to get better. So go forth and feed your soul. I thought, since I'm not playing music today, I would give you an idea of some music to go find for yourself, and of course I'll link it to below. But I've been listening to the Pebble Shakers jazz band a lot this week, and I just adore them. They are a South African jazz band, and they are specifically, their CD came out maybe a year ago, with the focus of preserving and honoring the history of South African jazz and the very unique and beautiful style that South African jazz has. And the CD is called Echoes of Sophiatown, and I would really encourage you to go check it out, and also look into the history of South African jazz. It's really important history, and I've been really enjoying learning a little bit about it. I don't know that much yet, but I'm learning, and I would really invite you to do the same. So the band again is called Pebble Shakers, and they're on Spotify and Bandcamp, and I'll link to them below. But I think it is time for me to enjoy my tea that I think has finally cooled down to a drinkable temperature. And Walter, we gotta say goodbye now. Come on. And I think it's time for me and the monster to say goodbye. So, have a good week, and I will see you next week. Oh, and hey, if this was useful to you, or you liked it, or you want to see more stuff, I have a Patreon, and that is a great way to support me and what I do and all the projects that I do. So you can check me out at patreon.com/BaileyMcCulley. And don't forget about 30 Days of Solo Jazz. So we have a Facebook group, and if you would like to post videos or see other people's videos, it's a really nice community, and we just comment, like I said, about the positive things, right? It's a really lovely, positive community, and if you post a video, you'll get a lot of really helpful and positive feedback. So if that's of interest, go join, and I'll see you next week.